George Sedano of Sedano Stink, heard 7 to 10 on 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. What's up, George?
I'm good, brother. How are you guys?
It's all good, baby.
You enjoying the sun?
We are enjoying the sun, although not too. I mean, we're in this building, 12 hours a day.
I know, but it's not snowing here.
Yes, that's a good point by you.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? Juneau is not what we thought it was going to be.
It was kind of weak.
It was very weak.
Well, I don't know about very weak, but kind of weak.
Well,
Weaker than we thought.
We thought we were going to get 14 inches. We got 4.
Well, it's kind of like last year's Super Bowl, right? It was a pick 'em game, and then it ended up being a blowout. We thought it was going to be the greatest game ever. It didn't work out.
Hey, do you like the layout of, you've been on mini radio rows, this year's radio row, the way that it's like broken into little islands, and then they have the Levack calls them moats.
Yeah, the fan moat.
Fans walking through.
Yeah, I like it.
It's way too separated for me, though.
Yeah, you know, I think it's better because it's more spread out. Whereas I feel like there have been places like New York last year was just like so cramped, like there was no room for anything,
right.
And that kind of drove me nuts. But yeah, I like it. I like the setup here. I also maybe it's just I'm in a better mood because the weather's nice here.
That could also help. Now I'm beginning text messages. I guess you and Stink last night were talking about one of your neighbors snoring so loud.
Oh my God. It was in Mark's hotel because Mark's staying at a different hotel. He's at the TV hotel, and so his neighbor was snoring so loud. We talked about it on Monday, and he's like, "Dude, I'm telling you, I'm going to record this guy tomorrow. You're going to freak out." And then it was funny because Ryan Clark is staying in the room below Mark.
Okay.
And he was complaining about a guy snoring too. So Mark was like, "This has to be the same guy. You're just hearing it from above you." So we recorded it, and then we played it back on the show just so people can really realize how loud this freaking guy was. It was absurd.
Right. Well, as soon as you guys talked about that, all my friends back home started texting me.
Were you the guy?
No, it's not me. I'm not in the TV hotel. I'm face for radio.
Well, that's the only reason why it's not him, because every other description of it, it sounded like it was him.
Well, literally, like 3 people have texted me and gone, "Are you anywhere near Schlereth?" I'm like, no, come on, thanks, guys.
Are
Thanks
you
a lot.
snorer?
Oh God, yeah. When
I'm
you're
only a snorer when I'm sick. I'm a little under the weather right now. I had some guy sneezing on me on the plane. I knew I was going to get sick. It was going to be the worst thing ever.
Hand sanitizer,
yeah,
bro.
for sure, bro.
Everybody's been pumping it like crazy.
Yeah, see, when I believe when you reach my size, my girth, you have no choice but to let everyone know that you're sleeping by snoring at max decibels.
That's the way it works. Well, at least people know, right? You give them the heads up.
Yeah, that's never like I'm asleep at work because I couldn't get away with it.
Right.
So you know that I'm wide awake and functioning at work.
George Sedano of Sedano Stink with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team, live on Radio Row. # Armen Levack, SB49. Your biggest storyline, what are you keeping an eye on? What are you most fascinated about this game this week?
As far as the game is concerned, I'm curious to see what Belichick does against Seattle's offense, because Belichick is really good at taking away the team's first and second options.
Right.
But the first and second options, I think, for this team are running. And normally he's going up against teams that want to pass the ball. So how do you limit Marshawn Lynch? And how do you limit Russell Wilson? He's one of the best improvisational quarterbacks we have in the NFL. But when he's in the pocket, he's not the same guy. And I think we saw that a little last week. And I think that's what Bill's strategy is going to be, to try to keep him in the pocket, move Darrelle Revis around like a chess piece, and really make it hard for Russell Wilson in the passing game, and just do your best on Marshawn Lynch, because they've got this stat with the Patriots, and it's a little difficult to analyze with this particular Seattle team because they run a zone blocking scheme. But the Patriots, when they give up less than 40 yards up the middle, in the running game, they're 10-0 this season. When they give up more than 40 yards specifically up the middle, they're 2-4. So I think that's something you kind of have to watch out for.
Look at you, research guy.
Listen, man, I'm a numbers guy. I am a sabermetrics analytics nerd that just happens to do Sports Talk Radio.
Sitting down with Elias right now? I mean, I feel like it's ESPNStatsInfo.com, George Sedano right here. It's impressive, bro.
It's nothing to sneeze at. Now, here's my question. Speaking of the other running game, LeGarrette Blount, complete whiff in Pittsburgh, comes back to New England, and he's a beast again.
Right.
How does Belichick keep pushing the buttons with these guys and getting the most out of them?
I just think that it's just about the scheme. I just think it didn't work in Pittsburgh. The offensive line is not as good as it once was. New England's offensive line struggled early in the year, but they really came together. And I think having Gronk there, obviously, when they keep him in to block, I mean, that changes the dynamic a lot. I mean, the guy's a Frankenstein-looking dude out there. I mean, he looks like a bear, for God's sake. So I think that helps the cause. And if you're any running back, you're going to have lanes to run in because their offensive line is so strong.
The NFL found a reason to fine Marshawn Lynch because of the hat.
So stupid. This is the dumbest thing ever.
What's dumb?
The fact that we know what they're doing here. They're not fining him for the hat.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
they're finding him because he's making a mockery of what they deem, sanctimonious
He's
with their
rebellious.
press conferences. Right. He got fined for that. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't care what any league official tells me. The hat wasn't going to be a deal. They were looking for something to fine him for, and that's what this is all about. The whole Marshawn Lynch thing is silly to me. And look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose the guy, but it seems like he may have some anxiety issues. Okay, and he's also been burned by the media. I know he's talked about that with Buffalo. And the reaction I get from that is, oh, A, you're not a doctor, and B, what are you doing sitting here talking about him when he's doing Skittles commercials and he's doing stuff with Kenny Mayne and whatnot? And my response is this. I covered Ricky Williams for a number of years, and Ricky Williams obviously dealt with a very public battle of social anxiety. And Ricky Williams went from being one of the most engaging personalities you'd ever find at any point to being really shy all of a sudden from 1 second to the next. That disease, let's call it, is it's an irrational behavior. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. So I don't think people get that. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing him. But it seems like his teammates seem to feel that's the case. And just some of his behavior makes you feel that that's the case. So I just think that the league is just using him as an example. And at the end of the day, this is about the media in the NFL being whiny and crying because they didn't get what they want and they pouted enough, and eventually the NFL succumbed to them.
George, it's part of his job. I mean, part of an NFL player's job is to speak to the media.
Part of your NFL job is to be available to the media for 5 minutes. He's been available. You may not like what he has to say, but he's been available. And to be honest, what is he doing that's different than giving you the cliched canned answer that everyone else gives you?
But they had to find him to get to this point for him to be available. He wasn't originally. He didn't make himself available. They had to find him to get to this point.
Here's the story I could tell you about the NBA. Derek Coleman. You remember Derek Coleman?
Yes. Yep.
Derek Coleman, when the league changed their dress policy, he basically gave the coach and the general manager a blank check. And he said, listen, I'm not getting in a suit on the team plane on the way back. He goes, so just fill out the check, and whatever the fines are going to be, that's what it'll be for every game.
Okay.
And you know what? That's the way some people are, and that's fine. Like, I don't know what the issue is with Marshawn, but there could be multiple situations here that could be at play. And at the end, I just don't. I think it's pretty hypocritical that the league, and Richard Sherman pointed this out, that the league officials, the general managers, and even Goodell, they don't speak ever. I mean, we don't force them to speak. I'd much rather hear from a general manager week to week than I would from Marshawn Lynch or any player who's going to give me the same cliched nonsense every week.
But didn't he bring it on himself by being rebellious, by saying, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to do this? He brought the attention to himself. There's a lot of players that don't like to talk. We talked to Brian Stork yesterday. He was a complete a-hole. He was very rude to us. He said no to a bunch of questions. He told me I had dumb questions. I mean, at least he stood there and answered. He doesn't cause a scene about not talking. He took it. And while we may or not have bashed him later on the air and gone, why is this guy so rude to us? At least he stood there and he gave answers, and we had stuff to talk about. Marshawn Lynch, the way that he's handling it is unlike any players. He's not the first player with issues.
Well, no, he's not really bringing attention to himself. The media is making this an issue. He didn't want to talk. So the media cries, and they go to the PR guy, and then they go to the league guy, and that becomes the issue. So he's not creating the issue. He specifically said early on he didn't want to talk, and then the media creates the firestorm. That's how this works.
Well, Jorge Sedano and Stink with Armen Levack on Radio Row.
In a year where the league has, we'll dumb it down, looked insensitive, how bad of a repercussion could it be if Marshawn Lynch gets diagnosed with some form of anxiety that would, in any other field, preclude you from being in the public eye? Like, is that where the league should head with this? Should they actually go and say, hey, go talk to somebody. If you have a legitimate reason, we'll give you the excuse.
Here's the thing. As great as Marshawn Lynch is, and as funny as I think he is at times, I don't necessarily, and I don't know him because I don't cover him, but he doesn't seem to be a guy who, and a lot of guys in sports won't do this because you have this tough guy persona and mentality, a guy who will go out there and say, yeah, I need help. I think a lot of things have to happen and transpire for a guy to do that. Look, I was talking about Ricky Williams earlier. Ricky Williams is a really introspective person, so he realized he needed help. Marshawn Lynch seems to have more of a tough exterior and doesn't want to let people in, and I think that might be part of the issue potentially.
Jorge Sedano and Stink, are our New York Knicks going to suck forever? Because that's what it feels like.
I mean, it might be. Look, I think that free agency next year is kind of like fool's gold because I think a lot of these guys are going to sign one-year deals with their respective teams because they want the big TV money to kick in so that the salary cap increases and then guys can get paid bigger bucks. So I think that the Knicks aren't going to have a ton of guys to choose from this offseason. I think that's going to be a big problem.
Now, we knew they were going to be bad, but is this even worse than we ever could have imagined?
Yeah, no question. I thought they'd at least be maybe fighting for an 8th seed, maybe, 9, 10 seed. I mean, this is just a total ridiculous destruction of a franchise. Like Phil Jackson, and I applaud him for this. He realized very quickly this thing is a disaster.
Right.
So he's just like, I'm going to tear it down. There's only a couple ways you can get better in that sport: the lottery and free agency. And he's realized that, and I think that's kind of the route they're going to take, and you have to suffer through it. If they get Jahlil Okafor, everything will be okay. Everyone will be happy about it. If you don't, though, because it's a lottery, then all of a sudden people are really going to get upset.
Will Phil stick around?
I don't think he sticks around very long.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got, what, a 5-year deal? Is that what he
Yeah.
signed?
Yeah.
I don't see him sticking through 5 years.
Yeah.
I could see him maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah. We feel the same way. George Sedano, Sedano and Stink, on Twitter, at Sedano ESPN.
Now everybody tells me I'm silly because I still want them to win games. A lot of people
No,
believe
don't do that.
tank.
Yes.
Just tank it out.
Yeah, man.
It's
Give
a
yourself the
default,
best chance.
but it's a
But give
probability.
yourself the best chance.
But historically, though, the team with the best chance does
There's only won 3 times in the last 30 years. I
Yeah.
know the story, but it's
You're good with stats.
But
You're
I'm
so impressive.
but I'm just telling you that this is the reality of it. Though you have to at least play the odds. It's like, okay, if it's like playing blackjack, right?
Okay.
You know, you either hit on a soft 17 all the time or you don't, right? So you have to play whatever the odds are. It's the same thing with the lottery. Even though the number one team hasn't hit very often, you know what? The Knicks did. They've done it once, right? I mean, with Patrick Ewing, I mean, maybe there was a frozen envelope. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think you have to give yourself the best chance. And you know what? Maybe they win a couple games with Carmelo, but I don't think that helps them in any way.
All right. Now I know you're a little under the weather, but we're trying to revive the 5. We're sick of the fist bump.
Right.
Is there any chance I can get a high 5 from you?
Yeah, I already got, I've got this antibacterial stuff going on.
Yeah,
We're good.
sorry it's a little low. Greeny just got
Oh my. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was full.
Well, he doesn't handshake at all. Did he high five
did
you?
today?
Today he's been handshaking like a handshaking fool because
Yeah?
he says he's in his zone.
Right.
And he says that he's hand sanitizer in his pocket, and
Oh.
after each interview, and he's feeling better.
Yeah, because I've never got a handshake from him.
Yeah.
Only fist bumps.
I shook it and received a dirty look once, but this time I got an open high 5.
Oh, that's
the whole
right.
night.
You told me the
Yeah.
story when
Yeah.
you guys went
Yeah.
down there.
George Sedano of Sedano and Stink. Good to see you again, my friend. At Sedano ESPN. Listen to him every night, 7 to 10, right here on the team.
You got it, boys.